Hi, I'm Randy Hollenbeck, and this is the Music Roundtable. Today on the show, we have Paul Crosby from hard rock band Coldwards. How you doing?
I am alive and well, man. Thank you so much for having me on.
I broke down for the first time in a long time since I left my pay for a better life. I still try just to get by, but my frail mind's only seconds away from a landslide. I wanna stay locked up in my safe room, but the storm always finds a way to get through. No, 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 I don't know where else to run to. Here we go again. I'm caught up in another whirlwind. I think the roof is gonna fall. I should be running for a safe space, but I can't help but be in awe.
I just wanted to start out by going into some of your history. What age did you start playing drums? What got you into drums?
I started drums. Uh, I got interested in drums, I would say, when I was about 10 years old, 10, 11. Um, and, but I asked my parents for a drum set. It took a couple of Christmases for them to actually relent and get me a drum set because, they were worried because they make a lot of noise, you know what I'm saying? So they started off by, I think the first thing they got me was an electric guitar because you could turn that like way down. And then the next year I asked again, and they got me a keyboard because you could turn that down as well. And then finally they were like, all right, he's not going to give up, so they got me a drum set finally. But at that point we were kind of living out in the country, so I think they thought it was a safe bet. But the good news is I learned how to play guitar and piano based off of the the other instruments they got me. And it was pretty cool when I first got my first drums because my parents would they would be like, "All right, we're leaving for an hour or 2 hours. You have that long, when we get back, no noise." So
Can you tell me some of your earlier influences, for drums and stuff?
for drums, I'm a product of the '80s, so I think what I used to Lars Ulrich was a from Metallica was a huge one for me, and that's actually the first band that got me into actual rock. I wasn't into rock music at all when I was little. I had three brothers, and well, four, an adopted brother, and they were all into like what you would call heavy metal at the time, but it was like Kiss and all of those bands, and they were always playing it all the time, and it just never resonated with me for whatever reason. But then when I started skateboarding, you know, um, there's a different type of music usually for that. So I got exposed to Metallica. I heard when Master of Puppets first came out. We were skateboarding. I was skateboarding with some friends, and they put that cassette in, and it was like I was instantly fixated on it. And so that was a huge influence. That Motley Crue, all of the heavy metal bands of the '80s. Well, most of them, but Motley Crue. I used to put like cassette in, put headphones on, and just try to like figure out what Tommy Lee was playing, or Slayer, Metallica, Iron Maiden, all of those bands.
Can you tell me the story on how Coldwards formed?
Yeah, and actually, so you're right about the name because when we first came up with the name, we were calling it Cold Wards, as in like hospital ward, psych ward kind of thing. But then, and we did a bunch of press releases and stuff under that, but we kind of decided to change the pronunciation to cold words, like a direction towards the cold or cold words. Um, so you're actually right on that, but we've kind of switched it around to cold words. But how it came about was that great time in everyone's life, the COVID-19 lockdowns, where we were all sheltered in place. me and our bass player Richie Hay, I was just writing a bunch of music on my own. I was just bored, you know what I mean? So Richie would come over and he would drop bass on it for me, and we'd kind of collaborate on some stuff. And we were doing it just for the fun of it. And then I ended up sending a couple of songs over to my son Sean, who's the guitar player and one of the singers in Coldwards. And he was like, "Dad, this stuff's really cool, man. Let me sing on some of it." So we just kind of like collaborating just to kill the time. And he sent back stuff, and it was like, "Man, this is really good." And then we sent it to my other son Zach, who's the other singer in Coldwards, and he loved it. And he was like, "Let me get in on this." So we kind of just started writing just for the fun of it. Then as the songs progressed, we were like, "Well, let's do like a 5-song EP and just put it out on our own, just to say we did that, you know, as father and sons kind of thing." And then more and more songs came, and next thing you know, we had 10 songs, and I was like, "Let me shop this to some labels." So we ended up getting a deal with Wake Up Music Rocks, who's our label. Really, you know, we just had to say, "All right, we're a band. Let's come up with a name." So, and as far as the name goes, you know, in this day and age, it's really hard to come up with a cool name for a band because they're all taken, you know. Um, and I don't remember exactly how it came about, but it just kind of happened. And then, you know, the rest is history. Now we just released our first single from our second EP, which will come out. We're going to release, you know, a few singles first and then drop the EP. And we're just going to keep going and see how far we can take it.
So at first it was kind of like you were just doing it as fun. When did you realize that, okay, let's just take this and go with it?
I guess when we started like getting people's, you know, sending the songs out to people in the industry and stuff that we knew and trusted, and friends that were in other bands, and they were like, "Man, this is really good. You guys should really do this." Like, and these were people that aren't the types of friends that will just say, "Yeah, it's badass," just regardless. These were like people that would tell us their honest opinion. And then the concept for me of being in a band with my sons as well, I was just like, "Man, this would actually be really cool." And I really don't think there's any other, um, you know, alternative metal bands at least that have father and sons and stuff. So it's like, you know, why not? We'll just see what happens.
What city are you based out of?
The band is based out of Houston, Texas, and actually, and our guitar player Michael and our bass player Richie all live here in Houston, and my sons live. Zach lives in Memphis, and Sean lives in Wisconsin, right outside of Milwaukee. So they fly in for rehearsals. When we do shows, they'll fly in a few days early. We'll rehearse and then go do the shows, and also the same for video shoots and all of that stuff. So
You released your album Bloodwork on September 16th, 2022. And there's a song called Whirlwind on there. And there's a really cool line in there. Like it says, "I want to stay locked up in my safe room, but the storm always finds a way to get through." I just love that line. Like, can you tell me a little bit about that song?
yeah, well, it's the same. My son Zach wrote the majority of the lyrics for that song. And I think it's basically kind of just about being in his head. You know what I'm saying? Ironically, you know, the song was kind of, well, it was more so written when the COVID lockdowns were kind of lightening up. But I think he kind of had that. It was a kind of about that feeling, you know, of being locked in there. And you know, I guess that line in particular is kind of like, there's no way to escape the madness. Even if you try to avoid people or avoid whatever, it's always going to find a way to get in there. That's pretty much it in a nutshell, man. Zach does a lot of the lyric writing. Sean does as well. On the songs there's songs that Sean completely wrote the whole thing lyrically, and then they collaborate a lot. But yeah, that's about it on that one.
Round it goes, round it goes, round it goes. Can't keep my feet on the ground. So to your words, hear no sound.
Yeah, really like the dynamic between them two. You know, it makes it really cool and interesting in the song. You know.
Definitely, man. And we try to be influenced by others, you know, all of the artists that we like, but we also try to do something a little bit different. There's a lot of the same going on out there, you know, over the last 4 or 5 years especially. It just seems like there's a lot of bands that just want to copy other bands, you know what I mean? And we're trying to make it, you know, have a little bit of originality, but still make it obvious that we are influenced by other people, you know.
You just released Bad News, and I want to quote a line on there. It says, "I keep hitting all the dead ends with people like you. You keep making old friends with bad news." And it seems to me like some of the people maybe around you, they don't have your best interest in mind by that.
That is absolutely correct. So that song concept again, my son Zach wrote the majority of the lyrics on that, and when he wrote it, it was about based on somebody he was formerly in a musical project with, um, and they, you know, they obviously had a falling out and all of that stuff, and the person is like would try to make him think that without him he's nothing. You know what I mean? So that whole concept of the song, even though it was written about a former bandmate of his, it's uh, made for just the general public. It could be a relationship, just as if there's anyone ever out there keeping you down and telling you you can't be successful or you can't do anything without me. That's basically the gist of the song.
Rest not the one who carries others' burdens. It's too sad to see you keeping hostile souls and higher spirits. Irony would have it so. You said I didn't know, but you're still. Don't tell me you're in the same place you were when I let go. What do you think I'm under the wheel? I keep hitting all the dead ends with people like you. Keep making old friends with bad news. Everything you put on yourself, I don't have the soul to pretend with people like you. Keep making old friends with bad news.
What do you have planned for the rest of this year?
We are going to release a new single every couple of months, depending on the longevity of that single, until we get to the point of. So I guess that would probably at this point make our EP, which is also called Bad News, come out early 2024 because we're gonna piggyback some singles first. Um, we are planning on doing a handful of shows later this year. There'll be some of those will be getting announced really soon, and then what our main goal is right now is to try to focus on getting on as many of the spring 2024 festivals as we can. So the rest of the year we'll be, like I said, doing a handful of shows, filming videos for the upcoming singles, and just trying to submit to as many festivals as we possibly can and try to really, really hit it hard in 2024.
How can we get a hold of you? Facebook, Instagram, Twitter?
We are. I don't think that Coldwards has a Twitter yet, but we would definitely be starting one up soon. But you can hit us, the band, on Facebook, um, literally all of the socials, TikTok, Instagram. Our Facebook is facebook.com/Coldwards Music, COLDWARDS, and our Instagram's like at Coldwards Music. Um, we also have coldwords.com, all that good stuff.
That's all the questions I have. Thanks for coming on the show today. Is there anything else you'd like to add?
one thing, and I've been doing this at all the interviews. If you're hearing this and you check us out and you like us, I think right now one of the biggest favors we could ask is obviously follow us on our socials, but go to our YouTube channel and check out not only Bad News, check out the other 5 videos we have, and hit the subscribe button. It's really hard for up and coming artists, even though I was in Saliva for how many ever years. This is a whole new project, so YouTube is one of the hardest things to conquer. So go hit subscribe on our YouTube channel, man. That'd be great.
Can't say goodbye like a normal person. Figures that I'd have to say for you. Pictured us grinding to put that work in. Now you survive.